Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Shogun 2. Today we're taking a look at the preview I've been given of the latest incarnation of the Total Fots universe, namely the Carlist War. Now you'll be wondering, what is the Carlist War? That is also what I asked myself. I wasn't too sure what it actually was. I'd heard it before. But yeah, I wasn't too sure about what it is. So what it is a Spanish Civil War. And no, it's not the one you think of. It's an earlier one coming out of the Napoleonic Wars. They had a bit of a tussle over who was actually gonna be king in Spain. And that led to, I think, in total 3 of these wars. We're gonna look at the, well, this mod portrays the first one, which seems to be the one where, you know, the most destructive one. Not maybe, I don't know, maybe the most destructive one, but for what I read, now it's very complicated. The Civil War, and to add on to that, it's a Spanish Civil War, so you know it's messy. But the first one had the most, I guess, punch in it. Compared to the later ones where the rebels were put down a lot easier than in the first one. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at a campaign. So we go over to Total Fots, and so we've got the you got the version here. So there's a lot of stuff that is not in it. We're actually gonna be playing as France, which might seem strange, but a lot of the other faction hasn't really been done yet. They haven't got troops, so they have Japanese troops, they have Japanese buildings and stuff. The French faction is the one that actually has modded troops, modded buildings and stuff like that. Still, the French faction has a lot of sort of balancing problems in terms of balancing the economy, balancing technology and stuff like that. So you got these different factions to choose from. You got the Spanish Kingdom, or you got the Carlists, which support a pretender then to the Spanish throne. And as I said, it's complicated. It's a complicated civil war business. The year it starts in is 1833. And you might be thinking, how are you going to depict such a war on the Japanese map? Well, here's where I guess Shogun 2 comes into its fullest. Compared to a lot of other Total War, in terms of mods anyway, you cannot really mod the map. I think Medieval 2 has a lot of that, because you could actually mod the map. But say Empire, Napoleon, and a lot of other ones, you hadn't really been able to reshape the map. In Shogun 2 you can reshape the map. We're going to go in and look at it, but we're actually going to see, it's actually going to be Spain. It's actually going to be like made up like Spain. So yeah, and then you can play as Portugal. Apparently Portugal at the same time had their own little civil war going on, so everyone was really all over the place. And then of course of course at the time obviously Great Britain wants to join in, and since France is a neighbor, they're also going to join in. And yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play as France, as I said, it's the most fleshed out faction right now. We're gonna take a look at the campaign and possibly play a little battle. So let's jump over into that. And here we are on the campaign map, and you might very well notice that it's quite different. This is definitely not Japan, especially since definitely not a Japanese name on the town. We're gonna quickly just skim over here. We'll watch the kind of outlay. We've got the map up here, so we can see that we're in southern France. We're close to our capital, which is right over here. And yeah, There's a number of different towns here. You can note that, and even a train passing by. And as we go across here, there's a few things, of course, at this early stage, like there's still Japanese people with rickshaws and stuff moving along the road. But this is a very, very early stage of this campaign. We got forts here. It kind of looks like buildings and stuff that are taken. I definitely recognize the some of these buildings from Empire Napoleon and the forts and stuff. And you will probably also notice them if you played Napoleon and stuff a lot. So this is what I control. I am playing as France. I have built up a bit of a railroad network and stuff like that. Very nice. But of course we also have the Spanish here, so the Spanish kingdom. And if we go over here, I actually walked a guy all the way over here to Portugal. And then down, all the way down here, I walked to Gibraltar to take a look at, what's it called? Great Britain. Great Britain died, but for some reason they decided to declare war on everyone, more or less. So they died really early on. Bye-bye, Great Britain. And so, yeah, it's a pretty massive map as we go through here, with lots and lots of towns. I believe the Spanish kingdom, if we go over to diplomacy. So here are the countries that I have found. There are a few others, like Morocco as well. Which I just really see during the end turn screen, they turn up. But the ones that I have met is Andalusia, Carlist, Spain, Kingdom of France. That's we're gonna deal with the royalists compared to I'm then the imperialists, and then the Kingdom of Portugal and the Kingdom of Spain. So those are the guys that I've met. And oh, can I trade with them now? I didn't realize that these were the ones that actually took out the British. A balancing problem with the campaign is that you don't actually make a lot of tax money. But we're not going to go into those details. What we're going to take a look at is some of the stuff that's been modded, that have been changed around. So maybe this town looks better actually. So this is what the high tier kind of town looks like. This town is at a level 4. I think the this one is actually bigger. It's at 5. It's going to be at 5. And then the fort is at level 4 as well. Then I've built a cavalry academy. So the way that it breaks down buildings in this is, rather than, I think in normal Shogun you build a single building for all the kind of infantry and cavalry units. Here what it does is it splits that building into a specific cavalry building and a specific infantry building. And then it does the same with artillery. So you have a specific one for field artillery, and then you have another one for that I have over here, which is siege artillery. You get, now we can't see it, and if you click here it doesn't actually show, but it's howitzers then and mortars that you can recruit out of this building, like this 4-inch mortar and a 6-inch light howitzer, compared to what we can get here, because here we can get like horse-drawn field guns, and we got the cavalry units over there. An interesting mechanic that he introduced in this mod is, what I didn't notice at first, but if we click here over on city, we can see that if we go down through all this administration cost and whatnot, it says +1 to the number of elite cavalry units available, +1 to the number of light cavalry unit. So depending on how developed your towns are and how many towns you have, that sets the limit of the troops you can have. So currently I've maxed out some limits here. And also, one thing to note here is that if you remember from the custom battles that I've done, that he split the units down with winter uniforms and summer uniforms. Not only has it done it here, but it actually has a campaign map effect, so that if we go over here to summer, we can see 10 minus to fatigue resistance to all winter dress units, -5 to morale for winter dress units. Now, and that's during summer, and then obviously it turns around during winter. Then you can think what you want about that. Could seem a little bit too complicated, but it's pretty cool idea that you would have you know, the winter units versus the summer units. And then as we go through, there's a number of buildings. I'm not going to take a look at all of them. They've changed around. He's changed around more or less everything. In terms of the police station is kind of the same, but you can also have, instead of a police station, you can have a chapel, I believe. Let's see if I have a town where we can actually see that's when it splits up into that. I don't think I have one. I don't think I built a chapel anyways. It spreads Christianity or Catholicism, which is France religion, so religion Catholicism. And we have 16 provinces here. I think Spain is the biggest one with 35 or 36, and that's roughly in the start. That's not in this current state. They might have more. What else might we want to look at before we go into battle? Yes, the characters. So obviously you can't have ninjas running around, so we have an assassin, and that's how he looks. So we got the assassin. Otherwise, it's very much the same of what you would have in Shogun 2. There's new pictures to kind of show how it would be in Spanish-themed pictures. Then we have the courtesan instead of a geisha, and we have a gentleman instead of the, what's it called, shinobis, the police officer, the secret police. And then of course we do have the foreign military advisors. And there we got a French guy. Yeah, he's training my troops down here, supervising the recruitment. And I think that most of that kind of gives you an idea. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna fight, and I think we're gonna do. I had an idea of fighting the French rebels here, because the idea was, because they actually have proper troops, that it would be easier to fight them, because we wouldn't be fighting Japanese troops. But they set themselves up in a fort, which I don't really want the fort battle. So what we're gonna do instead is the Carlists just very recently declared war on me, and they're marching on my town over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna march out. All of these uniforms, by the way, is summer uniform. You can hardly see, but it has next to Fusilier, Tier 1, and then within those markings you can see SD, summer dress. We're gonna take this army and we're gonna march out, and we're gonna deal a blow to these Carlist Japanese troops. Obviously, as these guys are not yet, they do have some troops that are actually modded in, so armed citizenry. Those guys will be different, but otherwise it's pure Japanese troops. But I wanted to show a little bit of fighting, so let's go ahead and do that. And so here we have arrived on the field of battle. My French troops are now engaging those Carlist Japanese mercenaries under the Carlist banner. Did some moves early on here in the battle to actually facilitate the battle. Seemingly having a bit... There's some kind of problem here where my troops wouldn't actually fire on the hill for some reason. I think it's a balancing issue with... I'm not entirely sure what exactly it is. Anyways, my French troops are volleying. This might be the coolest view to actually look at. Where we have 3 units stacked on a hill, firing by rank towards the Japanese mercenaries. Fair volunteer! No one will stand against the French Empire. So we got 3 units, and all 3 of them are firing by rank. Let's go ahead and take a look at what kind of effect we're having on the Japanese mercenaries. So you can see we've cut down quite a few troops over here. Just shot that one over there. And then we've been hitting quite a few troops up here as well. I wonder if this unit might be out of ammo, in fact. We have been shooting quite a lot. They haven't been able to really shoot that many of us. I can see, oh, no, that was a drum. Here's one of our guys has died. So, really poor aim from the Spanish mercenaries. The Japanese mercenaries in the Carlist army. I wonder why exactly just he chose the Carlist War out of all the conflicts. But I think I have it's kind of a recollection of him. He basically wanted to do similar to what it is in Empire, kind of, where you would move along the map in the same way, so you would be able to jump from kind of how you do in Empire, how you jump maybe from one area to another. So you jump to India, you jump to America and stuff like that, but then within the sort of within in this case doing it in Shogun 2, but jumping from different areas, and this would be one of the areas where you could jump from them, and eventually it all be put into one universe. I think that, or within one kind of game, I think that was his idea at some point. Thing is, I wasn't really able to talk with him a lot in terms of what I could expect from this preview, or what I kind of, if there was anything I should look out for and anything like that. I basically got it and, you know, trying to figure out a little bit what I should show, what I should highlight. But hopefully this piqued everyone's interest in the in Total Fots, in this case the preview of the Carlist War, and yeah, hopefully this will improve. I'll definitely come back to it once the Spanish troops are in and we could have battle. It would be interesting, I mean, in an expanded universe of Total Fots, where you can actually, you know, mod a map. How cool would it not be to see like a proper Anglo-Zulu campaign? You know, making South Africa with, you know, British colonies, maybe Boer troops, Zulus, or maybe some kind of the Franco-Prussian War. You could do a smaller within that. American Civil War. I think someone actually was doing that at some point. I've seen some pictures of modded Shogun 2 map that looked like America. And you could I mean, the the sky is the limit, really, of what you can do. Well, not really. I mean, at this point, I think Izzy is kind of working on this as a one-man project. So even though wishful thinking would have, you know, everything at once, right now, what we have is, I mean, what we have is pretty spectacular still. Like I really like the first Total Fots, playing as the British in colonizing Japan. We could, of course, play as the Americans and the French there as well. And I think in later versions that I never really got to play, that I never really played, but you could play as the Prussians, and I can't remember exactly. There was a few other nations as well. So definitely the Total Fots expanded universe is something definitely to keep an eye on, and he definitely deserves all kinds of support and praise for the work he's doing here. I mean, I could probably sit here watching these guys volley for days without getting bored of it. But for this preview, I think we're gonna end it right here. So I'm gonna say, as I always say, hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye!
Une gorgée de cognac, sergent. Ça évite les tremblements.
On me l'a souvent dit. Les chaussettes de l'empereur Napoléon. Ah, quel honneur perpétuellement.
Tenez-vous prêts, ils arrivent.
A whole unit has fallen to the enemy. A unit has grown weary, sir.